Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, welcome to episode 12 of Murph and Sully's Youth Athletics Podcast.
Woo!
I am one of your co-hosts, Mr. Ed Sullivan, also known as Sully, and I am joined by
Dan Murphy, also known as Murph.
So, Murph, we have a very special episode today. The journey from a youth athlete to a professional basketball player. We are bringing on one of my old future Ram and Glenbard East Ram teammates, Mr. Lee Skinner.
Mm-hmm.
And Murph, I'm not sure if you knew this, but Lee is actually our first out-of-state guest. He is not in our time zone right now, which is pretty cool.
I did not know that. That's awesome. Very cool.
So today we're going to talk with Lee and see his journey from playing with me and a bunch of others at the middle level, working his way up through the high school ranks, playing at Wofford College, and now currently playing for Inter Bratislava in Slovakia.
You nailed it.
I did. I'm very proud of myself.
I thought you were going to say bratwurst. I don't know. I was going to try and distract you before, but
I am hungry. But let's welcome to the show, Mr. Lee Skinner. Lee, welcome to the show.
Hey, guys. Hey, pleasure to be here with you guys.
Welcome, Lee.
So, Lee, we mentioned, before we got on air that, we have a lot of athletes that we coach who, have these aspirations to play beyond high school basketball. And we felt it was important, to bring someone on that we know that is now playing at the professional level and to kind of give people insight of what that journey is.
Yeah. When I was in middle school, I mean, if you told me I was going to be traveling to Europe to play professionally, I wouldn't have believed you at the time. It wasn't something that I thought about every single day, but between that middle school and high school and halfway through high school, I started to realize I might have a future in sports, and then had to decide which sport I wanted to go with. Because as you know, Sully, we played football together and, involved with baseball, everything really growing up. But, once you transition from middle school to high school, you have to start to decide where, what sport do I like most? How far can I take it? And so, yeah, it's been a great ride, a great journey.
And we're looking forward for our audience to witness that journey today. So, Murph, we're going to let you get started with the first question for Lee.
All right, yeah, let's dive in. So we know about high school, but maybe back up just a little bit, Lee, and tell us a little bit about where you were born and raised before high school, and take us from there.
So I was born in Madison, Wisconsin, but I was raised in the southwest suburbs. I was raised in Lombard pretty much from 2 to graduating high school, 18. So raised in Lombard, went to Westlake Middle School.
Mm-hmm.
From there, I went to Glenbard East and played sports all throughout. And grew up in Lombard, and actually I was in Villa Park for a while, and then I transferred to Westlake. Okay. But finished Westlake Middle School and then went to Glenbard East, played soccer, baseball, basketball, football all throughout. And made a lot of friends there, great coaches, which is very important. Hopefully we touch on that a little bit today, but that's where I'm from. Yep.
Awesome.
Lee,
when did you know that you loved basketball? I think a lot of us have our own moments when we realize that we love this game. What was your moment?
I just was kind of thrown in the fire probably 7th, 8th grade. I started playing, but it was just for fun. All my friends were playing. So I just played it for fun, just to hang out with my friends. But then probably between freshman and sophomore year of high school, I said, this is the sport I can't not play, because I was playing all the other sports. So I said, freshman, sophomore year of high school, I said, I could play this every day for as long as I can physically and mentally. So I said, I'm sticking with it,
Yeah.
In high school.
It's cool. In prior episodes, we've talked a lot about how, sometimes you tend to think of athletes who are most accomplished, if you will, in one sport as just, you think of them through the prism of that sport. But I would say most great athletes are probably many multi-sport athletes. It's rare that, especially in the past, at least, that they specialize. That's probably one of the issues that kind of occurs now. They specialize, in my opinion, a little too early, but that's cool. That's cool.
Right.
So you said the first time you played organized ball was in 7th grade.
I'd want to say 7th or 8th grade. Yeah.
Wow.
One of my friends had Yorktown. What was it? Yorktown had a small league of maybe 3 or 4 teams, and I just joined. I wasn't very good. I wasn't tall. I wasn't athletic, but it was a team sport, and I've played team sports before, and mostly it was just to be surrounded by people my age, friends my age. So that's when
was there not up until then, was there just not some leagues around, or what why so late?
I mentioned to you guys I moved from Villa Park to Lombard, so I was in a transition of Jefferson Middle School to Westlake Middle School in sixth grade. So I didn't know exactly what teams or leagues they had yet in Lombard, but I had a friend that I played baseball and football with since we were 3rd grade. So he knew of a league, or his dad was a coach on the league, so they just said, come on, come practice and play with us. So I just joined that way. But yeah, and then as you got, I got more comfortable in Lombard and grew up a little bit. There was AAU and other outlets to play with more leagues with more people.
Yeah, and Murph, at the public school level, most public schools, you can't start at the middle level till 7th grade for organized sports.
That's right. That's right. I always forget that.
So as Lee mentioned, unless you're in a Park District team or you have people that have contacts at those club AAU teams or feeder teams, a lot of kids, they experience for the first time, team sports in 7th grade. So
right. Okay.
Well, sticking with that, Lee, you said you attended Westlake Middle School when you did start playing sports. What did your middle school coaches do to prepare you for high school basketball?
Well, I think, the most important thing I take away from middle school basketball was, it doesn't really matter how skilled you are. And this still, applies to me professionally today. In middle school, you learn more about the team, and the more you could be, get along with your teammates, and the more, cohesive you could be as a unit, the more successful you'll be. So it doesn't 100% come down to skill and, talent, and how tall you are, how big you are. But in middle school, even at a young age, you learn, well, I need this guy to be in good spirits. I need this guy to know that, I have his back, or whatever it may be, so that we could compete and try to win. So that's what I take away from middle school the most, is just that camaraderie that you have in the locker room.
Okay.
Is there anything that you wish you would have known going into high school basketball that you felt that, might have been, just a surprise to you, or do you felt like you had a foundation that you were ready for high school basketball?
Yeah, I probably wish I would have known in 8th grade when I was 5'11" that I was going to become 6'6". I wish I knew that I was going to grow.
We're still waiting for that.
So, aside from not knowing, your growth spurts, things like this, I would have just told myself just to get in the gym, or, call a friend, go to the park, just work a little bit more, have the ball in your hands, not necessarily drills at that young of an age, but just be around the game, just enjoy it for what it is, and go from there.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
What about, maybe talk about your experience with coaches in high school and preparing you for college. How did maybe take us from freshman year all the way through senior year, and as you're growing and maybe even positions changing and things like that, how you were coached kind of from the beginning throughout.
Luckily, I had great coaches all through high school. I had absolutely great coaches. My head coach, Coach Miller, Sully, he's actually just got inducted to the Hall of Fame. So if you happen to see this, congratulations, Coach.
Congrats, Coach.
But he was also a football coach our freshman year, so I already knew who he was, and that communication was there. But through high school, I was called up to varsity sophomore year, so I got to spend more years with my varsity coach than some of the other guys. Yeah. So I knew what was expected. I learned how to play the right way, and by that I mean defense. The fundamentals of defense, footwork, communication was huge. That's where I prided myself on from a young age, was communicating to my teammates and then to my coaches what I feel out there, what I see out there, where we might need help. So, I mean, coach pretty much just took me under his wing and taught me a lot as far as team basketball, chemistry, communication on defense. And it took me a long, long, long way. And it still is something that is very good use to me now today.
Do you feel like it's, one of the things that I talk to our kids about is, two things. One is kind of the basketball IQ and developing that, and seeing the court, seeing your teammates, seeing the defense, seeing all that kind of stuff. Maybe talk a little bit about that, and then I want to have you help me, if you don't mind, emphasize the feet. I always talk to our kids about beating whether you're on offense or defense, beating someone to a spot. If you're there first, you have the space, you have the time.
Right. So I kind of approached it. I mean, I played every sport growing up, so I took a little bit from every sport. Is when you're on defense or whatever, the fundamentals will give you a leg up, because eventually you're gonna recognize opponents or even teammates that don't necessarily understand spacing or schemes on defense, or whatever the case may be. If we're playing a team that has a 7-foot postman, and we have our biggest guy is maybe 6'7", 6'8", we're going to have to help him. You have to recognize that as a player. As far as feet goes, I was never, and still am not. I've been undersized since college. So after high school, every matchup I had was either bigger, taller, stronger, faster, something had an advantage. So I had to learn and put myself in that mentality that I'm going to try to neutralize him and beat him with fundamentals or footwork. And a lot of that, how I got, I mean, playing and repetition helps you with that, but also watching film. I mean, the internet's a beautiful thing. Especially, in the times we are in right now, quarantine, I'm on YouTube studying old game film. I'm watching Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant highlights on their footwork, things like this, just to learn and see what they try to understand what they were seeing at the time. They were great. So just study the greats.
Lee, have you had a chance to watch The Last Dance on ESPN?
I have, and actually, I had a leak. Actually, there's a leak out there that you could watch episodes in advance. So I'm caught up. We'll just say I'm caught up.
What did you think of Dennis Rodman breaking down rebounding?
That's probably one of my favorite players ever. When we talk about fundamentals and beating somebody at a game that, he took it to a different level. He said, I can control a game without scoring. He's had games with 24 rebounds and 0 points. To me, that's what makes me want to play basketball. That's what makes me want to compete. Yeah. A majority of players want to score 50, 60 points a game, which is okay. That's great. It's just not the type of player I am. Mm-hmm. It's not the type of player Dennis Rodman was, and he's a Hall of Famer. He's great. So I just kind of, that guy is great. It gets me fired up. I'll tell you that.
I was going to say, I was watching the other day, leading up to this episode, watching some old Bulls NBA Finals footage, and you watch some of the plays that Rodman makes and just the energy and the emotion. I'm like, gosh, that reminds me of Lee Skinner playing in high school. You played with a lot of emotion. You were very fired up. Loved it.
You can't coach it. Yeah, it's something you can't coach. We talk about footwork. Maybe you can, you could say this works for me, try it. But as far as mentality and just the nose for the ball, which I think football helped a lot with, you can't coach that. You can't coach communication. Really, I mean, you can, but it's got to come from the player. So for young players, just write that down and know that it comes from within. Most of what you do and your success comes from within. So yeah.
That's a really, really cool point that you say that. I don't think I probably could talk to 100 people and ask them who their favorite basketball player is or the top 5, and Dennis Rodman wouldn't even fit in there. Right. But the funny thing is that I mean, I talk about him all the time. I mean, the guy was, talk about undersized compared to the people that he was out rebounding, just killing, controlling the game. Just that's a really cool comment. And the fact that, like you said, you don't even have to score. There's so many things that you can do. It's such a great game in that way that you can do so many things to help your team win.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Very cool.
And Murph, we have that too, and I think Lee mentions that, as middle school coaches, a lot of times kids want to be the star, and it's getting them to realize that everyone on a team has a specific role.
Right.
And although it might not be the role that you want, you have to accept that role, you have to own it, and you have to give it everything that you got. And if you do that and can give it your all for your role, ultimately the team's going to find success.
Yeah.
And it leads into those real life lessons that we always preach.
Yeah. And if I could add on to that, another player that I love was his name was Shane Battier, if you guys know.
From Duke.
Oh, yeah.
He started off more defensively. I mean, he can knock down an open shot, as all professional athletes should be able to. But I remember a quote from him was, his job is to make sure the coach has to play him. So my job is to make sure my coach has no choice but to play me, because I'm going to help my team win.
Yeah.
Not necessarily I'm going to score 20, 30 points a game, but I'm going to be out there affecting the game.
Yeah.
Something like that. So
that's a great line for both of you. I like that. I like that a lot. So was it Sully's my turn? Did I say?
It's mine, but that's all good.
Go.
So Lee, you said you started playing AAU basketball when? Did you stick with one team? Did you play for multiple teams in your high school age, club or AAU ball?
So I played, I want to say after freshman year. So sophomore through senior year, I joined an AAU team. I mentioned Coach Miller coaching me throughout high school. His son, Zach Miller, who graduated a year after we did, he was already on an AAU team. And since I was playing for his dad and Zach was coming into Glenbard East the year after us, it was that perfect time where, hey, I've got an AAU team. We're going to be playing in high school for the next 3 years together. Come to practice with me. See as kind of a tryout. I played one practice with him and his AAU coach and some of the guys there, and they said, "You're one of us." So I know in AAU, a lot of players, athletes bounce around.
Right.
They play for the best possible situation. What was great for me was that we stuck together through high school. So when you have in AAU, a lot of times it's more up and down. Who could score the most? Who can, it's not, to me, it's not the basketball I love. It's not San Antonio Spurs basketball. But since we were together 3-4 years, we built that, that camaraderie. We built that being on the same page, defense, everything like that. So from sophomore to senior year, I was playing with the same AU team, which helped me a lot. It was great. It was a lot of fun. Learned a lot.
I was going to say, yeah, when you're with the same group like that and you build that trust and that bond, a lot of the coaches we've had on here really talk about the importance of team culture, relationships, being able to build a family. And when you are with a program like that and you trust each other, you're more likely to take risk and push each other to limits that none of you have ever seen.
Exactly. And what I've learned as time goes on, the the conversations and communication you have between teammates and coaches is not always, I wouldn't say friendly. It's not always easy to digest. If somebody is not putting in the effort that you need as a team to succeed, if you're a close-knit unit, you can have that conversation easily without being offended. So those are the things that'll take your club and your team further.
Very cool. Any expanding on that a little bit? Any thoughts for kids out there that are looking to play travel? And then obviously there's probably a lot more choices even now than when you were doing it. But any thoughts on that? Because sometimes I'm sure kids think that they have to be in the elite of the elite or something like that. But maybe it's something that's a skill to develop. Or how do you see it?
The most important thing I would say between middle school and high school is learning the ability to be coachable and be able to play your role, and just be willing to learn, be willing to fail also. I mean, there's going to be times you lose by 20, 30 points. Some people might say, I'm never playing this sport again. If you look at it and try to take a positive from it, what can I have done better? What could my teammates have done better? How can I have helped my teammates to be better?
Yeah.
All of these things have nothing really to do with, can you shoot a basketball or could you perform it's more about that relationship you have with the people around you. So like I said, for me, most athletes at my age were moving teams, just bouncing around. For me, it was important to just be in one space, solid, same people around me, same faces. So the only thing really I'm noticing changes is me reacting to my situation, if that makes sense.
Yep.
I know with my teams, I always preach, you can only control what you can control.
That's it. And it's one of the hardest things to really, understand and apply to your life. But it's the truth. You could only control what you can control, and try to communicate with your teammates to be on the same page.
Yeah. So Lee, did you ever during the maybe late middle school or high school years, did you ever work with a personal trainer kind of generally or specific to basketball or anything like that, or just weight training or anything like that?
Well, since I played football, I was always in weight training. So as far as being stronger and physically fit, I was always active up until basketball season. Since I played for the same AAU team, my assistant coach became my shooting coach. Worked on form before and after practice, and then, 3 days a week practice with them, and then you got 5 days a week practice with your high school team. I was surrounded by it. There wasn't a ton of time. Then there wasn't a ton of time for training, individuals.
Yeah.
Or summer comes around or fall comes around, I'm in football season. But the main part in middle school and high school is being active, just staying ready, keep your body at a nice place.
Absolutely. Do you think that's one of the things that I find, I feel like is a bit of a disadvantage for kids now, that they do specialize, and in a sense you did do training, right? I mean, you were working all year round on different things, and like you said, things that you took from football or even baseball or other things like that, you applied in some way, even if it was conscious or subconsciously, you did it. So just keeping active, right? I mean, it's
so Murph, like just the past few minutes talking with you, I feel the specialization of skills and working different sports can take away from a player's success in a different sport, which I totally understand and I get, because for me, I was just active. I didn't specialize. And just watching The Last Dance, I remember Michael Jordan, he went to play baseball, and he said, I trained my body to play baseball for 12 months. So when he came back to basketball, totally different conditioning, totally different muscles. So there's a fine line you got to find there in that middle and high school level, that I don't want to just put myself in one box, but I want to be able to apply what I learned from football's physicality to basketball, or baseball's conditioning to the football field. Keep your doors open at that time, because if you hit a growth spurt sophomore, junior year in high school and you grow 4 or 5 inches, you never know. You might be changing sports. You might be changing what you want to do for the rest of your life, or at least collegiately. So, yeah.
And that's the great thing about being a multi-sport athlete, is when you're doing all those weightlifting sessions, which I know we were in a lot of them, and those speed training sessions, even though at that moment it's supposed to be helping you as a football player, it's going to be helping you as a basketball athlete or a baseball athlete, or in my case, a track athlete.
And I remember, I remember Coach Miller. He coached me in football freshman year, but he's my basketball coach. I remember going to him junior and senior, before junior year started. I said, Coach, I just want to play basketball. And he said, you know what? And this is my basketball coach speaking.
Wow.
For me, he said, Lee, I think you benefit a lot, and what makes you a great basketball player is that your physicality on the football field. What you learn on the football field translates to the basketball court. So as my basketball coach, he thought it would be beneficial to play football the next 2 years. And that's where you get lucky, when you find a coach that cares about your future. When you find I was lucky, I'll tell you. But you got to find that spot to be in and surround yourself with those type of people,
And that's one of the reasons he's a Hall of Famer. It's not just the fact that he knows his basketball, but he cares about his players. And I mean, it's just like in that Last Dance. I know we keep talking about it. When Dean Smith tells Michael Jordan not to stay an extra year to go to the NBA because it's what's best for him. It's coaches like Scott Miller and Dean Smith that care about their players and what's best for their players that make them unique.
You guys got me ready to run through a wall right now. I've got goosebumps just sitting here thinking about it.
Yeah. Well, you know what? We were talking about it before the show, that maybe one of us was going to get emotional, but maybe it'll be Lee.
It might be me. Yeah.
So Lee, playing all these sports, can you describe the college recruiting process? Were you, because I'll tell you, if I was a college coach and I saw your height, your speed, your strength, the fact that you were an all area and all conference football and basketball player, if I were a college coach, I'd be calling you. So can you explain that process for us?
Yeah. So, I mean, after I graduated high school at 17, so I was younger. I was younger than the rest of my class. So I opted to do a extra year. I went to prep school for a year, Fort Union Military Academy. It basically gave me an extra year to develop. It being military, gained a little bit of discipline there, which was great. So from there, I went there with the idea. I mean, I'm sorry. I could have went and played Division II sports collegially right after high school. I did not have the credits, which is very important. You need the credits to be able to play. So I had options to redshirt. I think Boise State called me and said, if you want to come in, we'll redshirt you your freshman year, and you'll train with the team and everything, and you'll develop and you'll get your classes to play. At a young age, I think I was mature enough, especially, and alongside the guidance of my mother, she said, I don't think you're ready for college. So, and I said, yes, ma'am, you're right. What are my options? So we looked up military school. So I go to military school, and from day one, I'm training. I'm working all year strictly for basketball, which was different than high school. So day one, August, I'm in practice for basketball. I'm conditioning for basketball season. I'm just surrounded by basketball. And that's, aside from the military aspect of the school. We go through the season, we're playing. College coaches come in and watch practice. They come to games that we have. And there's just some luck with my journeys, because my college coach played for the same coach I played for at Fork Union.
Wow.
So the time I played for my coach at Fork Union, he was in his 70s. My head coach was in his 40s, maybe. So there was a connection there. It was easier for me to get recruited to that school. At the same time, I had other colleges coming in, checking on me, calling me, sending me mail. So what basically happens is that you just try to perform at the highest level possible and stay focused, but also take into account, where am I going to go for college? You know, what do I want to study? What area of the country do I want to be in? For me, it didn't matter. I was already in Virginia for prep school, so I'll go anywhere. But that connection between my head coach in college and my head coach at prep school, it kind of pushed me in that direction, which was great. I mean, there was a little bit of luck with that.
Was that because you're now eventually you transfer to Wofford College, right? Is it because the coach at Wofford, since he was essentially a disciple of your Fork Union coach, you knew you were going to get basically a similar style of coaching?
Oh, I knew exactly what I was getting. My head coach at Wofford called me when I was on Thanksgiving break. You weren't allowed to leave campus except for Thanksgiving, Christmas. You know, we lived on campus. He offered me a scholarship without having seen me play in person or anything. Based off a phone call he had with our coach, he said, "Coach Young, you need this guy. You know, you're going to need this guy. He's going to fit right into your system." Calls me up, offers me the scholarship. I'm on Thanksgiving break. I'm in Lombard. I'm at home for a week before I go back. And I said, "Yes, sir." He said, "I'll come see you. We'll talk about it. We'll get you on a visit to campus." So a week or two after Thanksgiving break, he comes up there. We have lunch in the mess hall, we called it, the little cafeteria. And shortly after that, set up a meeting to go down there. I met his team. I met his staff. There's just something about it that I said, "Hey, this is where I need to be." It's a ways away from home, but it felt like family automatically. I've been connected to this place, since I went to prep school. So that's pretty much my story with prep to college transition.
So what? There was a question that came up that was, so it sounds to me like you have there's this aspect of, for lack of a better term, almost family that you're looking for.
Absolutely.
And also, I'll just say it because it sounds to me like what got you noticed by having someone recruit you who hasn't seen you play and taking it on the word of somebody else. That's pretty cool. Obviously, you built a reputation, but as I would think that you still can't. That can't happen unless you work like you talk about working. That commitment in practice and that team aspect and the role playing and other things like that. You maybe talk about, was that a conversation that occurred with you and the coach after you have two coaches talked?
It just kind of became understood that you get offered a scholarship that's worth, I don't know, however $100,000 it is for 4 years. You understand that it's never 100% about what you can do on the field or on the court, or it's more, not more, it's 50-50 on, is this person a good person? Can I have a conversation with him? How's his family out? What are his aspirations? What does this athlete want to do with their life? So it just became understood for me very quickly that I didn't receive this scholarship because I'm a basketball player. It's more the person I am, what I can do to help off the court, as far as becoming a leader in the locker room, or just keeping the team together, or being someone on campus, a college campus, that someone who's visiting would want to talk to know, hey, where am I going around here? Or what's the school like? Or what does this mean to you? Or, someone that can also help sell, what you're doing and where you're at.
Yeah. Very cool. Very cool.
So Lee, when you made the transfer move to Wofford, what did you major in?
I ended up majoring in sociology. Not sure what I'm gonna do with that if I have to use it, but well, I'm just gonna bank on my network of what I've done, in the past few years to get me through. But sociology was my major.
Okay.
Excellent. Murph, do you want to ask that second part of question 9?
Oh yeah. So what did you love most about Wofford? What, as far as the atmosphere, the everything. What was it that you most loved about it? The experience there.
Well, we talked about family a minute ago. Wofford College was probably the second or third smallest university or college in America. So, or Division I should say. Sorry, but there was my senior year. There's 1,800 students there. That's almost half of what Glenbard East had. And I'm not taking anything away from Glenbard East.
Yeah.
But when you get to a college campus and you're living on campus with 1,800 people, you start to feel automatically a community, a family. Just there's a vibration there that makes you feel close and cared for, and all these important things for a college student or in a college athlete. The basketball aspect of it, now going on 6 years pro, what I miss most is that camaraderie, and we have a team goal, and it's more about the team than it is about me, or egos don't get in the way necessarily. There's no room for that, especially in a small campus, a small school, a small team. What I miss most is that after practice, you're with a few guys on your team and you hang out and you talk about each other's families, what's going on, what's bothering. So those are things that I don't know. I'm searching for, but it's going to be hard to get back, especially player 1 through 12, 1 through 13, whatever's on your roster. But those are the things I miss the most, for sure.
Cool.
So, Lee, we've been experimenting here with the show. As I mentioned, this is our 12th episode. We're trying to do some different things. So, want to watch something together, you, me, and Murph, and I want to get your thoughts on it. Sound good?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Ready?
Yes.
We're ready. Are you ready?
Oh, I'm ready.
All right.
Predictions as far as who you play or any teams you would like to see?
No, I actually don't. I just keep hearing the same old as everybody else. I think Jacksonville or playing Arkansas or Northern Iowa. But honestly, we're just happy to be in this position again, and excited to see what happens and where we end up, who we play on Sunday with everyone else.
And let's talk about something, Lee. You were about to not even play collegiate basketball going into your senior year of high school. You didn't know what you were going to do, maybe not even go to college at all. And now you're a leader of a 2-time SoCon championship program, and you were most valuable player at the tournament this past weekend. How do you feel about that? What is going through your head right now?
I still haven't been able to wrap my mind around it. Just very excited for the team, the coaches, everybody involved, the fans. Wofford community has been on fire this past week, and it's been the energy's been great. But to come this far is just another awesome accomplishment, and I couldn't be more happy and proud.
Elliot, I was at the championship game and I saw you signaling for your mom, and your mom hurried down to the edge of the stands, and she just tears filled up in her eyes as you gave her your plaque from the most valuable player of the SoCon tournament. What does your mom mean to you?
She means everything. This is why she's the reason why I'm here. Really, I made a promise to her that I would earn a degree from college because I didn't necessarily want to go to school after high school, but she's the reason why I am here doing what I'm doing, whatever it takes to keep my promise to her.
Clearly a mama's boy. Well, see everybody Sunday.
Mama's boy, that's nice.
Literally a mama's boy. Thanks. If you ever see this, thanks for that. No.
So there's a lot of things that come out of that video. The first is I remember being able to, when I watched you participate in the NCAA tournament, turning to my brothers being like, we used to play with that guy. Now he's on TV. Can you believe this? This is crazy.
I can't.
What does it mean? What did it feel like to know that your team had made it to the NCAA tournament?
It was surreal, first year was kind of a fluke. The favorite in our tournament, you had to win the conference tournament to go to the tournament.
Mm-hmm.
And Davidson College, which Steph Curry went there and everything, so they have a history of winning, and they were great that year. So junior year, we weren't supposed to win, but they lost in the semifinals. So we said, either way, if we meet them in the final, it's going to be a great game. So we were just lucky to kind of win junior year. But just to be, and that first year, junior year, when we were in the tournament, we were in Milwaukee. So it was super close to home. So I have selection Sunday coming up, and then we go to Milwaukee, and I'm calling people at home. I'm saying it's only 90 minutes, probably an hour away from home. So, hey, I get you some tickets, but it was unbelievable. And then after winning the tournament, you got selection Sunday, and I was talking about campus being just on fire. It was just vibrating. The ground under you was vibrating. You walk into class and people are giving you a round of applause. It kind of makes everything up until that point worth it. You sacrifice time with your family, you sacrifice time with your friends, which I should have mentioned a little bit earlier to our middle school and high school athletes, is that what I would have told myself when I was younger is that fun's always going to be there. Friends and family that you keep those relationships alive and well with are always going to be there for you. Worry about what's important to you too. If that's playing sports, if that's chasing a certain job or degree, make sure you're that important. Make sure that you take that time for yourself also, and chase those dreams. But it was a great time, great experience. Senior year was even better. We knew we had it in the bag. We just had to make it happen. And that site was in Jacksonville, Florida, so it was a little bit better. Come March, we had great weather.
Absolutely.
But it was a great, fun time.
Awesome.
Yes, sir.
And then I know you talked about it in the video, but knowing your mom personally and knowing how such a wonderful lady she is, she must have played a vital role in you being where you are today.
Yeah, and I even mentioned it in there. I don't know. I knew that I needed to do well in school to play sports, and you got to be eligible to play. You've got to, and then as I grew older, I thought, well, I could get hurt any day, or basketball is not going to be here forever, or whatever sport it may be, you're not going to be able to play forever. Mm-hmm. So then you start realizing, hopefully before it's too late, that this degree is not going to do anything but help me in the future. And my mom made me promise her while I was in high school was that I would get a college degree. And I said, if that's my only job, and my mom has done so much for me, then, hey, I'm not going to be the one to argue with it, so let's go for it. What do I have to do to get this degree? And what do I have to do to play at the highest level possible? So I owe everything. My position right now is to her. So
very cool.
I'm thankful for her very much.
Very cool. So, you're making a transition, maybe let's call it junior to senior year, or maybe during senior year. Was there a point at which you decided that you were gonna go for it and play professionally, or was it how did that, if you will, the decision evolve?
I think I knew one of the reasons why I wanted to stop playing football junior year in high school is because I wanted to start specializing in basketball and start.
Mm.
The funny thing is, as a kid, 16, 17 years old, I said, I'm not going to college. I could go play overseas right now if I'm ready, you know. And it's more to just being physically ready. It's 80% of it's mental. And so my mom shot that down real quick. She said, you're not going anywhere. So I was ready to turn pro sophomore year in high school, junior year, you know.
Wow.
Obviously, it just my mom, you know, brought me back to earth. And I knew, I told close friends of mine, I said, I want to play professional basketball when I'm done with college. So I knew very young that I wanted to do this. So then I mean, that was the easy part. The hard part was just filling in the gaps. So I had to, what do I have to do to get there? Or what can I do to get there? I was prep school for a year and then 4 years at college and then hope for the best. So that was pretty much my thought process as far as going pro was.
Okay, cool.
Before we get to the next question, Lee, we want to remind all of our viewers, if you want to ask Lee a question, you know, whether you're on Facebook Live or YouTube, please leave a question or comment. It may end up on the screen and part of the show. So we're going to keep this up here for a little bit. But Lee, you know, I was just wondering, you said you knew you wanted to play professional basketball. Now that you're done with college, what's the next step? What does the process look like in trying to secure a contract? Do you hire an agent? Do you represent yourself? Walk us through how that looks going from college to now playing professional ball.
So for me, how it worked was throughout college, you've got agents who are looking for players that want to play at the next level. And you can't, you know, it's not legal to talk to an agent while you have your college eligibility and keep your college eligibility. So the day after my last game, when we got back from the tournament and got kicked out of the tournament my senior year, I got back to the athletic department and they had a portfolio full of, you know, 10, 15 agents that have watched me over the past year or 2 or 3 years, however long. And so it was up to me to go through these portfolios, you know, get on the phone with them, email them, find a common ground with someone you feel comfortable with. Won't get too much into that, but you just got to find what works best for you. And pretty much you got to get lucky too. You got to hope for the best. So there's a bit of luck involved with everything, even getting recruited for college. But the thing that you can control is your effort and your attitude. So everything else is going to fall in. As far as the next level from college to professional, got on the phone with a few agents, met with one in person, and I said, hey, you know, it's nice to be able to reach out and touch someone you're going to work with who's representing you. So I went that route, found me a job, and I was shipped out. I was signed before before I graduated college. I was already signed. So it was a fun process, as long as you don't make it more than what it is. But, you know, you got people that support you around you and want the best for you. You'll make the right decision for sure.
And who was the first professional team that you signed with?
The first professional team was a team called Revolves, Austria. It's spelled Wells with a W, but in Austria they pronounce their W's V's. But Revolves, Austria, and I was only there about a month. I'll be completely honest with you. I was not ready. I was still a senior in college. I was first time in Europe. So if anybody could learn something from me was when the opportunity is there, you better be ready for it, because I was not ready. I got sent home. Luckily, I found another team to play for, and I learned really quick what it's going to take for me to last. I learned a lot from that experience, and then I went to Kolín, Czech Republic. I was there 3 years, so that's how I started. Yeah.
Murph, before we let you ask the next question, we have a question from a viewer.
Yeah.
Fiona Summers asked, what is the most challenging aspect of playing overseas?
Hey, Fee. It's my cousin. Challenging aspect. I mean, people ask me what's it like living overseas, not just playing, but everything is different. The currency's different. The metric system is different. Every single thing. The food is different. The language is. So the toughest aspect is just, what will help people to make that transition, I think, is just, like I said, being coachable or being able to assimilate into the culture, because it's more than just a sport. You're there, you're living there. I had to learn how to communicate with my teammates in a way. They spoke enough English, I think, to communicate, but obviously for me to understand them was important. At least, the get a gist of what was going on in the locker room. But most challenging is probably just being able to fit into where you're living. It's just a totally different world. That's the hardest part. Basketball is easy. Sports are easy. If you love the game, it's the easy part. Get me to a gym and I'll be there all day. But, outside of that, I go to the grocery store and I don't know what aisles say what, that's the hardest part, is living in a different world, a different culture. So, but it's also a lot of fun,
Yeah. Did you pick up the languages pretty quick? How many languages do you speak? Or at least a little bit of?
Just a little bit. So, Hrál mi čestin 3 roky, tak rozumím trochu česky a slovenský. That means I've played basketball for 3 years in Czech Republic. So I understand a little bit of Czech and Slovak. So I learned a little bit of the, thank you, yes, please, how are you, things like that. That's very important. Where's my money? So you got to learn.
Right. That's an important one.
You got to learn. You got to get with it. So, no, I learned a bit of it. I was in Czech Republic 3 seasons and 2 seasons in Slovakia. The language is 90% similar, so I've learned a great deal of language over there.
Okay. So maybe expand on that a little bit as far as your weekly schedule. Maybe talk a little bit about the basketball side, but obviously, like you said, it's a relatively small part still of your day. You got the communication, you got all that kind of stuff, the food. Tell us a little bit about what your typical week, month, and all that kind of stuff look like.
So it seems so long. The season seems so long. I'm there 10 months, but the regular season doesn't start until maybe October. But I'm out there in August. So from August to October, November, it's 2-a-days, maybe 3 times, depending on who your coach is, what they expect of you. But 5 days out of the week, you're engaged. You're either on the court, you're either watching film, you're either in the weight room. It is a small portion of your day, because realistically you're only in the gym or something 4, 5, 6 hours a day. Then you got to fill the gaps with shopping, going home, maybe coffee with teammates, which also helps your performance as a team.
Mm-hmm.
But it's just a grind. It's like every other job. You got to expect to put in the work. You got to expect to be in the office. You got to expect to put in extra time with your coworkers if you want to establish a good relationship. So just, if you want to play professionally, be ready to be accessible, I guess, 5 days out of your week. Because even if I'm not practicing, I'm in an interview, or I'm at a school with kids. I'm, trying to do something in the community, because, sports, it's bigger than yourself. It's bigger than the sport, so.
That's cool. That's really cool to hear, actually, all that stuff.
Well, I'm a broken record when it comes to this, but I'm a true believer that sports truly does bring communities together.
Absolutely.
There's a lot of different things out there, but at the end of the day, there's something about sports that can take all these people from different backgrounds and different personalities and bring them together as one.
It's a beautiful thing, and we're noticing it now with quarantine and this lockdown. Is sports put the world into kind of a frenzy, and then you just see even you notice how important sports are when you get on social media, and every post is from past sports events or something like this. So yeah, I mean, it's a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
So Lee, did COVID-19 affect your season at all, or were you able to get your season completed before all this started happening?
No, it actually stopped us dead in our tracks. We were 3 weeks away from playoffs. We had already clinched the first seed. So for our team, it was more stay healthy, stay sharp, stay focused until playoffs start. On a Monday, we find out that the season would be postponed for 2 weeks. So the game we're supposed to play Saturday was postponed 2 weeks. And we're thinking, oh, this is great. Give us a few days off. We'll go relax. We'll go enjoy ourselves, whatever. But that wasn't the case. Come Thursday, we were still practicing. Come Thursday, from Monday to Thursday, we found out the season's canceled. And now it's this commotion. How are we going to get you guys home? Are they going to close the borders? We would rather have you guys home with your family than to be here stuck for who knows how long. So from Monday to Thursday, we're still practicing. Thursday evening, they say, hey, we're getting you guys your flights home. There's myself and two other Americans. We need to get you guys out of here so that you don't end up stuck here. So we end up, that was my second season with them. I had 2 years worth of things and belongings in the city. I had 36 hours to evacuate.
Wow.
So long story short, I get home. I had to leave 2 bags worth of stuff over there. I gave a lot of things to, there was a feeder team, a younger team there that the kids would play before we got on the court. And I called one of the kids. I said, hey, listen, I'll send you a picture of what bags you can grab from the locker room, but this is all you. You guys could send it, give it to your friends, whatever you want to do with it. I ended up leaving half of my stuff there.
Yeah.
Wow. Have they talked about when the season's going to restart, or?
No, for us, the season's over. The season is over. I know the NBA is talking about finishing their season, which will be interesting to see, because if they do, next season won't start till December. But us, we don't have any affiliation with the NBA, so our season is kaput. It's done until next year.
Oh, how do you feel about that now, based on, obviously the beginning is just kind of adjusting and or the shock of it in a sense, but how do you feel about that now?
It's bittersweet. I'm trying to find a positive out of it, and the positive is being around family, or at least being on the same time zone as family, so I can sit down and do this call with you guys, or talk to my family back in Illinois at a reasonable hour. But then, I went from competing for playoffs, ready to compete and play in the playoffs, to competing with myself to get up and do push-ups or be active or go for a run, or just it's a huge adjustment period. But the positive is the time that I wouldn't have otherwise if I was over there.
Yeah.
To at least talk to friends and family at a nice time. So just make the most of it. It's been a ride.
People must have been pretty concerned for you, especially your mom, for this is going on, and it sounds like arrangements are made for you, which is great. But I can imagine that still, that your mom and other people were like, we're going to see him for 6 months or whatever.
Yeah. No, luckily the past few years I've had my mom come out to see where I am, how I operate, how my life is. So she, luckily she had that understanding of where I was coming from before I got home. So she could kind of visualize my trip home, what was going on. So I think that made it easier for her. But yeah, it was just, it was just such a rush to get home. The important thing was just to touch American soil, U.S. soil, and just be home with, friends and family, and we'll just take care of it from there. I think like everyone else is doing.
Yeah.
Good. We have a question from a viewer. Mike Pollock asks, do the European coaches coach the same basics as in the United States?
Good question. Let's see. I think, there was talk about adjustment period. I had to adjust to the style of basketball in Europe, which it's not easy to pinpoint. I guess the way I play basketball is more team oriented. How are we going to win? Do I have to score 20? Do I have to hold a player that usually scores 20 to 5? Things like this. But basically, every coach is different. So long story short, you have different schemes a coach wants to do defensively, offensively. But as far as the physicality and just what it takes to win a game is pretty much the baseline, I think that everybody can take away from, which would be the smart thing to do. If you see a team with success doing something the right way, take away from that. But then everything's different. It depends where the coaches come from, his experience, their experience. So I don't know if that answers your question, but you get a different taste of different styles, different coaching philosophies with different people. So doesn't necessarily mean European or American, But yeah.
I was going to say, I imagine you being someone and having played with you that really emphasizes communication, not quite being the same, having the same language, having that language breakdown, would maybe be tough on you because you're so used to being able to communicate with your teammates so easily that this is more of a challenge, because you're learning and they're learning as well how to communicate with one another.
Yeah, no, that's one reason why I wanted to learn basic parts of their language is little things like switch or left or right or I'm here. I communicated all of that in their language. But as far as communication goes, period, that's half the battle. You know what I mean? So for me to be able to learn that and catch on to the numbers or the language used quickly on the court, it helps tremendously. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And actually, real quickly, Murph, I feel like I keep cutting you off, and I'm so sorry.
Yeah, no, it's no problem. Yeah, we talked about this. This is fine. No problem.
Lee, I was wondering, we're going to watch another thing together, okay?
Awesome.
Ready? Let's see if I can zoom in here.
Not a bad video.
Oh, nice move. I like that one.
So if you could notice, most of these other big men are a lot taller or stronger than me. They're either one or the other.
Yeah.
Give me the hot sauce, Lee. Give me the hot sauce. Oh, I love the right-handed hook.
Oh, that's sweet. Nice work.
6'6", a guy 6'6" with a hook shot. What is it?
You got to do what you got to do, right?
It's a lost art, Coach.
So was that this season, Lee?
This is this season, yes. This is my latest season.
Oh, nice. One of those moves reminds me of one of my players right now, actually.
And so it's my second year with this team. We won the championship last year and qualified to play in this European competition, which allowed you at least 6 games against teams in a different country in different leagues instead of just playing in your domestic league. So we had won our domestic league last season, and I re-signed because of this opportunity to play. This right here is Portugal. We played in the Netherlands, and then we played in Hungary. So these are different countries than Slovakia, obviously, and it gives you a little bit more of exposure. Hopefully one of these coaches will see, hey, this guy played really well against us, and if we can't take him, maybe someone in our league, somebody I know can take him. So it was a really fun experience to be able to fly somewhere in a different country just to play. It was really, really good time.
And it looks like your statistics this year, you're having a great year too, averaging 13 points, 6.8 rebounds, 1.8 assists. So, you're having a very solid year.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, as a player, you always want your numbers to be better than that. But no, I mean, realistically, even sometimes I kind of have to look at it from a coaching aspect. And I even tell friends that are on the same kind of path that you can average 7 points and still affect the game in many ways.
Mm-hmm.
It might not look great on paper, but the people who actually know the sport and know what they're looking for will realize that, 7 points and 7 rebounds a game is going to help my team win.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, it was overall it was a really fun season. Played the All-Star game this year, which was set up imports versus Slovakian domestic guys. So it was a lot of fun. It was just, it was mostly Americans against. So it was just, there's a friendly banter back and forth there, but it was a good time.
Now, I would never promote this to the kids at home, but do you know how to trash talk in Slovakian?
Yeah, and I probably get away with nobody understanding me, but you just learn it. You just learn, the words you should and shouldn't use. But I did okay in that department. We'll say.
Very proud.
Have you always been, or have you always not been a kid? Oh, not kidding aside. Let's keep the humor in it. Do you? Are you a talker on the court, whether it's trash talking or talking to your teammates or whatever?
Okay, so when it comes to talking to my teammates, I'm nonstop. You can't shut me up. Sometimes I know my coaches would wish that I would shut up and let them speak. But I feel like in my own right, I earned that position to be in. As far as trash talking goes, if you're on a opposing team than I am, I'm not going to start off being on bad terms with you. But there's a certain level of respect you have with your opponents also. I think that should be there. Yeah. But if I feel personally that you've crossed that line with myself or my team, I'll be the first one to let you know. Yeah. So it's gotten to a point where it's like, hey, back off, or it's not happening, or do you know who I am? We've been there. You don't.
I'm gonna learn. I'm gonna teach you.
You're gonna learn. You're gonna learn today. I keep that chip on my shoulder, and as part of it is being undersized since college basketball. But it's just a lot of fun to add to the game if you can do it respectfully, and have a good time with it. Yeah.
Very cool. So before I get to my question, Lee, my next question, I want to thank Sully extremely sarcastically for asking the question that every interviewer wants to, or I should say every interviewee wants to kill the person who asked the question.
Bring it.
So thanks, Sully. I really appreciate you setting me up with Lee. He's easy. He's gonna pound me into the ground. So when the time comes to hang it up and to say, I'm either ready to retire or it's just time or whatever. Maybe you've even thought about it. I don't know. But what's that like? And then I guess the follow-up question, which is the better part of the question, is do you have coaching aspirations?
I think it all ties in together, and I'm not one of those. I'm the interviewee, right? Yeah, so I'm not those guys that is going to be upset about this question. I couldn't see myself doing at this point much of anything other than coaching after I'm done.
Mhm.
Obviously, you want to put yourself in a position to make your income and have these other, options. But as far as the career goes, I would love to coach. Probably at a collegiate level. That's not to take anything away from our athletes coming up, but I want to deal with athletes and players that they want to take it to the next level and be, not that high school isn't serious, but it's hit or miss. It depends where you're at and
Variables.
But I definitely want to coach, and my uncle is he's convinced that that's my calling, and he's, since I was in diapers, has watched me grow up and play sports and communicate with teammates and coach teammates while I'm playing with them. So he hasn't pushed me in that direction, but he's confirmed the fact that I would want to do that in the future. So coaching is definitely if I had to stop playing right now, that's what I would go into tomorrow,
Yeah.
As someone who has played alongside you in multiple sports, I think you're going to be an excellent coach. Your knowledge of the sport, your drive, the journey you've been on, and most importantly, you motivate and inspire your teammates. And at the end of the day, an excellent coach is someone who motivates and inspires their players. So
yes, sir.
You are. I was going to say I wish you'd come coach for me, but I'm sure.
I was going to say, you should probably start at our school. You should probably start there because, dealing with the kids that we do, if they're listening now, that's a good idea. I'm just kidding. But, that's cool. I mean, honestly.
Yeah, I would learn a lot.
No, I was just gonna say you've been the whole time we're talking here. All I can think about is Lee's gonna be a great coach. You can
Absolutely.
You can just tell. So very cool.
Thank you. No.
You bailed me out, Lee, on that. So I don't feel as bad asking the question now. Right. Hopefully it's many years in the future.
Yes, sir.
It's my job to put Murph in difficult situations.
And he does a really good job. As you've seen.
So as we wrap things up here, Lee, what advice would you give to a middle school student athlete? Because that's what Murph and I coach. What advice would you give to a middle school athlete who wants to play beyond high school basketball or even beyond college basketball?
I'd say first and foremost is stay out of trouble and do the right thing, which is easy. I mean, be a good person. That'll take you pretty far in whatever you want to do. As far as sports go, just one, have fun, and two, play to win. So there's a fine line. You want to have fun, but you want to play to win. Just don't be out there just to be out there. You want to have some fun with it. You want to work on getting better and make the most of it, because I know, and as we all know, sitting here, that your body just physically can't play forever. So take advantage of your young joints and your young, your young body and your young muscles and young mind. And first and foremost, have fun. Second of all, get better and play to win. Everything else will take care of itself from there, I think.
Well, we talk a lot about when I'm coaching too, about defining winning too, and it's I think you really have made a lot of the points that frankly that I talk about a lot with the kids too, which is winning. We need to there's championships, there's things like that are the obvious ones in games and all that, beating rivals, but winning, I like to just narrow down to the little things, like you said. We need to hold that person to 5 points, or we need to score X amount of points in a quarter for us to be at we're executing well. We need to stop. We get a certain amount of steals. We need to rebound. Maybe you could talk a little bit about the importance of boxing out, because we seem to have a little bit of a problem.
Oh gosh, that might make Lee a millionaire. You
Yeah,
know, that's
Not only the importance of it, but how much fun it is.
yeah. You want me? I'll
I really do.
I'll sell it for you real quick. No, the thing about boxing out is what I learned is that I don't want to be boxed out. You know, so I learned how to box out from avoiding being boxed out. You know, the what you want to do offensively is if you miss a shot, you want to grab that and give yourself another opportunity, give your team another opportunity. So what I learned was how to avoid that, just your footwork and your creativity, knowing where the ball bounces, from what angle, who's shooting it. Dennis Rodman talks about it. Who's shooting it? Do they have a flat shot? Do they have a high arcing shot? There's all these variables coming into it. But the main thing about boxing out and rebounding is who wants it more? I mean, do you really want this rebound? Because if you really do, and you see me, I'm another person who really wants it. So it just do you want it more than me? If you do, you're probably going to get it, to be completely 100% honest. I've had guys that are like 6 inches taller than me. If you want to keep them off the glass, you're going to keep them off the glass. No excuses. But yeah, boxing out is something I'll touch on as a coach for sure. Yeah.
Thank you, Lee.
Murph's gonna be able to sleep well at night.
Yeah.
I play this segment over and over again in every practice.
Murph, should I have Lee bust on you for not running man-to-man defense this year, or should I save that for after the show?
You know what? It's so funny. I got this idea in my head, Lee, because I started coaching girls. Not because, but I started coaching girls, with my daughters for 3 years, and then their friends, and then 4 more years with the other girls. And for some reason, it just kind of occurred to me, or whatever. And I think it's just because most people play zone. I grew up playing man-to-man. We never played zone, ever. And for some reason, I just got it in my head that we would play zone. So Sully gives me a hard time about it. And he's right. I mean, and the thing is that, I don't even know why some of the girls that we recently coached, and just some of them played it all the time, so it wasn't a problem, but some didn't, and they were just like, I don't want to play man to man. It was, I don't know what it was, but no, I'll admit it. I was wrong. I'm wrong. I want them to play man to man. It's more fun, honestly.
Oh yeah, no. And we talk about like my past growing in high school coaches. I was lucky to play for a coach who, I mean, man to man was what we played. We would go into a full court zone defense, but that's more of a press situation.
Yeah.
When if we're talking about basketball specifically, the right way, I think, and the best way is man. Is to know, geez, it gets me really worked up. Like there are times that you go sit in a zone because you got foul trouble, or you got a different matchup. Totally understandable. I agree with that. But automatically you're in a defensive position if you're in a zone. You're just sitting on your heels. Man to man, you're more setting the tone, on your toes. You're directing where the ball is. Things like this. But that goes. I mean, if you're coaching your team for multiple seasons or more than 1 year, I think you'll have no problem implementing that. I mean, there's going to be gradual steps. Obviously, you're not going to be on the same page all the time, but I think playing, the better defensive team you are, the better offensive team you're going to be, from getting those stops, getting out in transition, things like that. So that's, I mean, I'm biased. Sully, you must know me too well, because you'll never see any of my teams in the zone. That's for sure.
That's why I had to set Murph up again. Once again, that's my job.
Yeah, and it was one of those things where you just don't think. I wasn't, And it's funny because I overthink it all the time. I am always working on ways to motivate kids and to teach them new skills and things like that. But for whatever reason, it was just what it was. So Sully, shut up. That's enough. Lee, I heard you.
Yeah.
And I like what you said, and I will absolutely incorporate it in talking about it, which is as a definitionally, when you're playing man to man, you're attacking, you're dictating or trying to pace, space, feet movement, all that kind of stuff. When you're in zone, you're basically reacting.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Murph goes back to the old hammer, not the nail. You know,
There's got to be a fine line there. You know,
Yeah.
you need a little balance.
Yeah. All right.
Plus, you can't beat a really intense shell drill. I'm just saying.
That's my favorite drill. And, you know, that's something I wish that we would do more of over the water. But shell drill. Hey, write that down. Shell drill. You know?
Absolutely. So, Lee, as we close up shop, we want to share with you. Dante Bailey says, "Proud of you, big bro. You're the reason I keep grinding and made it like you did. Thanks for leading me in high school. Love you."
Love you too, bro. Love you too, Dante, man. Hey,
Awesome.
He came up after us. He's currently playing overseas right now, and wow, that makes me feel really good. No, I know where that's coming from, and it means a lot to me. So
Awesome.
yeah.
Thanks, Dante, for sharing that. It's cool.
And last but not least, the most important comment, and then we're going to end on this from your mom. His leadership skills have been an important role for him on the court. He averages 30 minutes a game. His efficiency rating has always been tops. He's a captain as an import. So proud of him.
Thanks, Mom.
She's in the other room, so
I can actually see her. I didn't know she was posting that, but yeah, no.
That's awesome.
Shout out to my mom. You know.
Very cool.
So, Lee, thank you for joining us today. Murph, you want to tell everyone what our next episode is?
Yes, it's about injuries in sports. Yeah, that's basically right. Injuries and dealing with them both mentally and physically, and getting back to playing shape and all that kind of stuff. So
maybe even some injury prevention. So
yeah, and prevention too.
So we're going to sign off here. I'm going to ask Lee off air to ask me how to say Murph loves George Michael in Slovakian. So
I'm not that fluent, but guys, it's been a pleasure. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Lee. We appreciate it. Thank you for not taking the bait on that one, by the way. I appreciate that.
Yeah, right. Take care, guys.
Thank you, Lee.
So much. Say out to your mom. Thank you. Thanks, Herod, as well.
Absolutely. Take care.
For the man that puts the boom boom into your heart, Mr. Dan Murphy, I'm Ed Sullivan saying we'll see you next time, and it's a great day to be a Ram.
Later, guys.
Take care. Thanks again, Lee.